Hi, I'm attorney Renee Osipov with Chelle Law, and we assist parents, guardians, and students who are having issues surrounding 504 plan and accommodations. So in this video, I'm discussing a 504 plan in connection with education. Specifically, I'll first address 504 plans are not special education. So this is how 504 plans differ from IEPs. So an IEP student has one of the 13 qualifying categories of diagnosis or disability, and therefore they're given services or accommodations, which a 504 plan can have. But the difference is an IEP specifically allows for special education. So the child is their placement would be sometimes in the general education classroom, but they could be pulled out for specialized instruction with a special education teacher. And this can be for one or multiple subject areas. So this is a misconception of a 504 plan. 504 plans can help in an education setting. You're just not going to be pulled out for special education. So if a parent or guardian feels that a student may need to be pulled out and have specialized instruction, then they would go for an IEP. And the special education team would likely evaluate them for those services. However, 504 plans can help, of course, with accommodations in the educational setting in the general education classroom. So what does that look like? So the accommodations really range. So the categories would probably be accommodations for instruction, and then also for examination or for assignments. So I'll kind of walk you through those three categories. So just in general, if there are accommodations written for instructions, what might that look like? So to kind of backtrack a little bit, in order to qualify for a 504 plan, a child has to have either a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits major life activity. So what does this mean? That a child could have any type of physical or mental impairment that could substantially limit them within the classroom. So if they maybe have for example, a sensory processing disorder, perhaps while the teacher is given instructions, the students are allowed sensory tools. So this could be, something that they can use with their hands or do physically at their desk while the teacher is giving instruction. So that's an example of an accommodation for the actual instruction during educational time. Also, where the student's sitting in the classroom. Perhaps they have a diagnosis of ADHD, so the child would then maybe an accommodation to help them focus would be to sit at the front of the class, so there's no distractions around them. If a child has visual or hearing impairments, again, the placement of where they would sit in the classroom would then be very important to them. So as you can see, we're not changing what the teacher is teaching, the educational process. We're just adding accommodations to help that student be able to stay in that placement in the general education classroom, but to comprehend and function how they need to due to their disability or diagnosis. Then the next one would be sort of examination. So this honestly is probably the most common reason why 504 plans are created for students. And this could be anywhere from allowing a student to have additional time on an exam. Perhaps they're allowed to go to a quiet area that, they would not be overstimulated and they could focus in on the exam. Sometimes they're allowed to have their exams read to them. Also, if the exam may be chunked. So again, if a student is having issues around ADHD and it's overwhelming for them to receive a 10-page exam, what the teacher would do then, due to the accommodations, is they would chunk that up. So the teacher may circle specific questions and the student would complete those and bring those back up to the teacher, or perhaps the student is given one page at a time, so that it's not quite so overwhelming and they can really focus in on what they're doing. And then also just assignments in general for accommodations. It's becoming more common with anxiety disorders. So for an example, maybe a student would suffer, mentally or physically if they had to go up in front of the class and give an oral presentation. So accommodation would be that they were allowed to tape those at home or use some, different type of technology to express this sort of the assignment, so that they don't necessarily have to stand in front of the class and then suffer there because of it. So that accommodation would be there to protect them. In general, just for education, a lot of times, like I said, chunking, so breaking up the assignments. I did kind of miss talking about technology, but that's becoming more and more implemented just because technology is becoming more advanced. So an example of how a modification could use technology within the educational setting: if a student has fine motor skills issue, maybe they need to dictate instead of type or write out their writing assignment. This is pretty common. Or they can even sometimes use a keyboard, a specialized keyboard. But all of these things can help students so that they can express their thoughts, and the teacher can clearly judge if they are retaining the information being taught. But they just need accommodations or some type of modification in order to do that. So those are some examples of 504 plans specifically within an educational setting. So if the teacher is going to modify or accommodate during the instruction process, also there could be accommodations for how the children convey what they've learned. And then also with exams and assignments. So if you'd like more information, you can check out our website, and our contact information is all in the description below. And we're happy to help you if you need assistance with requesting 504 plan accommodations, or if your student currently has one and feels like that and the parents feel it's not adequate and need help revising it. So yeah, we're here, we're happy to help, and all of our information is in the description below the video. Thanks.